Uncut Ball for, and this is Uncut News. Before we begin, do you have something you want to leak without revealing your identity? Send us a tip on WhatsApp on telephone number 659-6151. Now for tonight's news. Bold-faced Bizram is seeking monetary compensation from the state for his time spent in prison after the DPP sent him back to jail before being tried again for the October 2016 murder of Faiz Narindat, one that he was again later released on. Bizram, through his attorney-at-law, contended that the judge erred when she refused to order monetary damages to Bizram for the period of time he was in state custody, and now he is seeking said funds. Former CEO of GWI, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, is in hot water with the GRA after his company, Atlantic Fuels Incorporated, was accused by the tax agency of making a false declaration in November 2020. Now, they are moving to court to make him pay what he owes. According to reports, the company would under-invoice shipments of fuel. Also, in some cases, the company would allegedly record gallons of fuel as liters and record low prices for fuel. While they are still adding up the full cost, it is already apparent that Van West Charles owes the state millions in unpaid taxes. An ongoing turf war in All Boys Town turned bloody yesterday after career criminal Edward Skeet, aka Pretty Boy, was shot twice on James Street. The battle began after someone informed Pretty Boy that a person was selling weed on his turf. Not to be made into a paku on his own block, Pretty Boy armed himself, gathered his forces, and approached the enemy. But when negotiations between the two sides failed, the conflict turned to gunplay. Reports are that 5 men were seen firing shots at each other for about 15 minutes. Skeet was shot twice in the process. And apparently each and every person there is a terrible shot because after 15 minutes of shooting, and only one person gets shot twice. Now it's time to tell you about Best Buy's car of the day. Currently on sale is a 2015 Suzuki SX4 S-Cross. It comes with all-grip 4-wheel drive, steering controls, TV, navigation serial, crystal lights, mag rims, fog lamps, and much, much more. Pay cash for $5.1 million, or pay down as low as $1,020,000 with around $98,000 monthly, and it's yours. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info, or visit their showrooms at Lot 171 Peter Rowe Street, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lamar Street, and tell them Noriko sent you for this sweet deal. Just 3 months after Guy Succo received $3 billion, the government is buck requesting an additional $4 billion of taxpayer money to throw into the state-owned money pit. While the previous $3 billion was to recapitalize the shuttered estates at Rose Hall, Skeldon and Enmore, the $4 billion requested on Monday will support the recapitalization of the 3 operating estates at Claremont, Albion and Iva. Police in quarantine say a 46-year-old man is now in custody after he went on a Christmas Day drunken rampage, leaving 2 men hospitalized. Reginald Dabadane is accused of stabbing Kenneth Cedron and Fidel Paul with a broken beer bottle on Christmas. According to information, Paul was sitting under his house when the suspect came in a drunken rage, busting into his yard with nothing but violence on his mind. After hollering at Paul, Reginald did one hot slap in it, broke a beer bottle and stabbed him up. And when Citron intervened, Reggie picked up another bottle and shook it twice, one in the left eye and once in the back. The man then made good on his escape. Both victims were picked up and taken to the hospital. Paul was treated and discharged while Citron remains a patient at the GPHC. Well, obviously, because he got stabbed in the friggin' eye. Despite the curfews and restrictions due to the Rona, the JPF has recorded a 25% increase in armed robberies. This was the reason Brocodong Band gave for the government's purchase of 15 new police motorcycles at a cost of 6.5 million Guyana dollars. They are to be used to increase police patrols, especially in Region 4. While armed robberies and murders have seen a significant increase for the year, the police force maintains that there has been an overall reduction in serious crimes. Robbery season might be over on paper, but the streets are still mean. If I were you, I would consider getting security for the home of business. I personally recommend Sheriff Security Service. I find that they are the most professional, with well-trained armed or unarmed guards. Get some security, people. Here's a story from the diaspora. In a moment that should make both Guyanese and Jamaicans proud, a registered nurse of Guyanese parentage today gave Vice President-elect Kamala Harris her Rona shot. According to reports, Patricia Cummings is the child of Guyanese immigrants. Nurse Cummings administered the vaccine at the United Medical Center in Southeast Washington, D.C. Harris later said she chose to be vaccinated in Southwest D.C., a majority black area of the city, to encourage trust in the vaccine in the people who work in your community every day. It's now time for today's Rona Report. Today, the nation recorded 3 new cases. The total number of deaths now stands at 164. There are now 7 persons in the ICU and 348 persons in home isolation. The total number of known cases in the country is now 6,301. So, please, people, wash your hands frequently. Avoid touching your nose and mouth and mask up before you leave the house. When you do leave home, try to avoid enclosed spaces and large crowds, and remember to give 6 feet of space between you and others. Now, let's take a look at news in the region. Last week, one magistrate in Trinidad levied an unusual punishment for one young bandit in hopes that a little public embarrassment will make him turn away from crime. After pleading guilty to robbery offenses, the 20-year-old defendant was ordered to stand outside the Besson Street police station with a sign saying, "I will not rob again." During his trial, the young man pleaded for leniency, saying it was a mistake brought on by hard times, and promised never to rob again. Instead of jail time, he was ordered to report to the police station for the rest of the year between 9 a.m. and midday, without fail, with the aforementioned sign. The man has since been keeping with the instructions as ordered under the watchful eyes of officers at the station. You can multiply your cash by selling digital top-up. This is a legit way you can earn some extra money at your business or to supplement your existing side hustle. Become a top-up vendor quick and easy through Cellular Plus. Call them on telephone number 685-3109 for more info. Political analyst Derek Ramsamouj will be released today from prison in Suriname after courts in that country found the Surinamese police had no basis to keep him. However, he will remain in the country until a trial is scheduled in the bank fraud allegations against former Surinamese Post Savings Bank CEO Grimrado Comsueto. This is expected in early January. Ramsamouj was detained by police on October 8 after he agreed to assist in their ongoing probe of the Surinamese Public Prosecution Services. But when the detention continued without charge, Ramsamouj, a diabetic, last month threatened to go on hunger strike. Ramsamouj has denied claims and declared he wasn't guilty of any criminal offense. According to Surinamese media, his detention was on suspicions of collaborating with the CEO of a state bank in criminal activities, a charge that was later challenged by his lawyer. And it turns out over there that they actually have an extraordinarily long period of time after they've arrested you before they actually are required to charge you with something, hence why he stayed so many months in police custody without a charge. And now for our weird news story of the day. How far would you go to see your girlfriend? Would you ride your bike across town, maybe even drive all day across state lines, or even take a flight cross country? Well, one British man showed he's willing to cross the Irish Sea on a jet ski despite not knowing how to swim. 28-year-old Dale McLaughlin was missing his lady, so he hopped on a water scooter and made his way toward the Isle of Man to see her. The 25-mile journey by sea took 4.5 hours, and by the time he arrived, he only had 10 minutes of fuel left. After arriving on dry land, McLaughlin then marched 15 miles to his girlfriend Jessica Radcliffe's home. Unfortunately, their reunion was short-lived because while they were out drinking, he was stopped by authorities who arrested him for unlawful entry. His jail sentence? 4 weeks. Meaning despite doing all of that just to spend time with his woman, he still missed being with her on Christmas Day. Anyway, Jessica, you must be doing something right. Moving on to our Uncut News Views Poll question of the day. Every day we pose a question about current events in Guyana, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it relates to us. So you give your responses in the comments, and we'll read the best ones in the following episode. Yesterday's question was, should we consider having the school children redo the 2020 academic year? Sharon Davis said, repeating the school year would not make much a difference. Let's just meet the children where they are educationally and move on. Remember, the minister said no child should be left behind, so they will be promoted to the next level anyway. Solid point. 10-4 said, yes, the teachers' union should ask the Guyanese Ministry of Education to have the 2020 school year repeated. Good answers, people. So tonight I leave you with this question. Magistrates are given the authority to set unusual punishments instead of jail time, like in the case with the young man in Trinidad. Seeing as our prison system is basically ineffective, what other punishments do you think the state should offer to make sure lawbreakers learn their lesson? And don't you dare say the death penalty. I already know one of you geniuses are going to say that. Anyway, think about that question and tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in Wednesday's episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight. Check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Noriko Bullford saying good night, folks. Hey, Uncut News viewers, thanks for watching. You can subscribe by clicking on this button over here, or click over there for more news. You can also drop a comment to let me know if you've made it to the end of the video. Goodbye for now.